Good day, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the GearyCast on Sports Direct Radio and as part of the Sports Social Podcast Network. I'm Nick Bell, your host for this evening. It is Valentine's week. Love is in the air, but once again, Malaga left us heartbroken after a very poor performance over in the Spanish enclave of Melilla. However, not to worry, because I'm spending my evening with two heartbreakers myself in the form of Chris Marquez and Luke Chambers. How are you guys this evening? Thank you for joining me. Luke, how are things over in sunny Doncaster?
Quite cold, mate. Quite breezy. I imagine it's a lot better, Chris. We were just talking there and think it's 22 degrees over there. Yeah, we're getting there. Trying to recover from Sunday's performance, but we will get there. Don't worry.
We will get there. We can mend broken hearts. It just takes a bit of time. And a man who I can give lots and lots of time to is the one and only Chris Marquez in what sounds like a very pleasant Ben Madden. How are you, Chris?
Warm and fine, I guess.
Don't make us too jealous, especially us here in the UK that are about to embrace something like a -8 cold snap.
Is it cold in the UK?
It's always cold in the UK, but it's especially cold up north.
That's a lie. It's not always cold in the UK. It can be pretty warm in the summer. Yeah, how warm is it now? How many degrees?
7. I have it here in Blackpool.
5 in Doncaster.
So according to Nick, because he's more north, it should be colder where he is, but it's warmer where Nick is.
But I'm near the sea, so that
he's a coastal man. Blackpool is basically like the Costa del Sol of the UK, I suppose. Doncaster's just a...
Yeah, but yes and no. Because according to Alice Platten, it's also the most dangerous city in the UK.
I wouldn't believe Ellis Platten on that whatsoever. Yeah, he has lured you in for clickbaits, Chris. That's all he's done.
I love it.
Had your pants down. That's
because he now went to the richest, not the richest, like the
poshest.
The poshest club. And he ended up in Sheffield, was it?
Yeah, no, we were going to Sheffield and he went to Leeds. I think it was. But yeah, it was a strange one, that Nick, wasn't it? I mean, I don't class Blackpool as
it's no more dangerous than Fuengirola or no more dangerous than Weymouth. It's just a seaside town. Yeah, it's a bit run down, a bit dilapidated.
I mean, I don't know nothing about England, but watching the video makes Blackpool look like really, really bad for an outsider. You know what I mean?
He shows you what he wants you to see. But anyone would say, for example, if you went to walk around London or Nottingham, they are far more dangerous places. But that's bad about it. It's like how people say that about Barcelona.
You know I love his videos, though. I also love the one where he went to Millwall, where he let because what he did, he let a psychic, or how do you call it? Someone's fortune teller decide which match they were going, and it was Millwall.
And this week's episode of the GearyCast is sponsored by a certain Ellis Platten.
I was going to say, are we on the Ellis Platten cast instead of the GearyCast because we don't want to talk about this weekend's?
I thought it was nice to mention.
No, absolutely. Well, we're going to get into some news first and foremost because there has been some news breaking from La Rosaleda this week. But before we do that, just to point you in the direction of our Malaga fanzine, myself and Mr. Matt Harrison have once again created a monthly fanzine where you can read all about what kits you like, what games we didn't like, or what Matt thinks about throwing things in the river. It's all in there. You find the link on our social media pages. So if you go along to there, have a little read, drop us a like, and just let us know your thoughts and keep your eye out for the ones coming up on a monthly basis. To actual physical news, we saw something quite interesting on Twitter earlier this week, which basically stated the financials involved in player transfers. And lo and behold, you wouldn't think it, given we are now a third division Spanish club, that Malaga have earned the most money in transfers, net profit, by any Spanish team in the last century, or certainly in this century, like from 2000 onwards. Luke, you had some figures for this, didn't you? Like, how much money are we talking?
Yeah, so in terms of expenditure, we were down 143 million. a profit of 273 million euros, which gives us an overall total over, I think it were 24 years, of 130 million euros profit. And I think that shows, these figures definitely show just how badly run we have been for, what, a decade at least.
Can we not forget to mention that it was David Picon who brought this very interesting statistic?
Well, that's exactly it. When you think that if you've made a 134 million pound profit, or euro profit, sorry, you know, I imagine a lot of that was fairly recently as well, with, you know, the sales of like Isco and Santi Cazorla and people like that, that we'd be feeling the benefit of it, wouldn't we, Chris? But we definitely aren't feeling the benefit of 134 million pounds, are we?
I'm going to ask a simple question. How long have you been following Malaga, Nick?
For about just shy of 10 years, I reckon.
Like really, really following as the club they are?
As a club they are now, and going to games, yeah, probably just around 7, I would say.
Okay. Luke, you?
Yeah, very similar, about 10 and 6.
There's something I'm going to say which is very important that defines this club in the purest form. The only thing I can say is welcome to Malaga Club de Football, because this is exactly the problem of Malaga Club de Football over the past 50, 60 years.
Yeah, they're not.
Bad managing, people taking money from the club. That's what Malaga Club de Football is. The same club, because we weren't always Malaga CF. We were CD Malaga. Disappeared in 1992 because of bad managing, people taking money from the club, bad decisions, bad owners. It's a story of the club, basically. So I don't think it's something that is going to change ever, to be honest.
No, it's such a shame as well. I think just looking at, again, David Picon's league table kind of thing, where he put the second team was Mallorca with a 90 million euro profit. But you look at where Mallorca are now, they've stabilised as a La Liga club. They've extended the stadium, done the rebuild, what they need to do. And then you just look at what Malaga have done with the money, etc. And
yeah, but another thing which is important is that not all figures are taking in it, right? Because television rights are not in it, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was based on transfer incomes, I think.
It was all transfer incomes and expenditure, but still that's the swell of cash that's come from that. And obviously, you know, Malaga,
the television rights is the biggest income for a Spanish football team if you're Barcelona or Real Madrid. The fact that they get so much more money than any other team, the fact that the whole La Liga thing is built on Real Madrid, Barcelona, and maybe in some way Atletico Madrid or Atletico Club de Bilbao, maybe. But La Liga has been the gold mine of, and will ever be the gold mine of, Real Madrid and Barcelona.
Yeah, 100%.
So you have to ask yourself, why is the English league so much more popular, or gained so much more interest over the past 6-7 years? Is because Spain is Barcelona, Madrid. That's what La Liga was. That's where everybody was talking about. Messi, Ronaldo, Barcelona, Madrid. That people get bored of that. If you look at the Premier League, that's the biggest difference. In the Premier League, the gap between teams is closer. You have more teams playing attractive football, or more teams. You know, it's interesting to watch a Southampton versus Newcastle, for example, or I don't know.
Absolutely. I think maybe that's why people have been a bit more enamored with some of the stories we're seeing around European football, not necessarily just Spanish football this season, because you've got the likes of, you know, Girona competing at the top with Real Madrid. You've got Bayer Leverkusen, you know, competing with Bayern Munich, and that is, you're right, Chris. I think
but that's one season. You know what the problem also is, because even though Girona is doing great, what does that mean for next season? Will they get, if they become a champion, will they get most television rights? No, because they will still go to Real Madrid and Barcelona. And that's a bit the problem that happened to Malaga. You can put a lot of money into a club, but you're never going to earn it back with television rights, because Barcelona and Real Madrid is what the league is based on.
No, exactly. But still, a fun fact to, you know, maybe look at the positive side of things. It shows that Malaga certainly recruited well in a lot of situations, or brought players through that then sold for big money. So there is a positive silver lining. Another positive silver lining for this weekend, obviously we play Recreativo Huelva at La Rosaleda on Sunday dinner time. It says here that Recre are looking to bring up towards potentially 1,000 fans with them, which is a hell of a fair distance to do that. I think the club have made more tickets available for them if they would like it. There's already an additional 3,500 tickets sold on top of season ticket sales. So we're looking at maybe a near sellout, boys, for this weekend. Chris, obviously I know that you're going to be going. They really need the back of the fans this weekend, don't they? Especially after you know, losing to Melilla this weekend, and with Recre being right on our asses now. Then
they really do, and it isn't helping that Recreativo Huelva is bringing so many fans, I think, because it will be much more difficult to play against Recreativo Huelva who want to have a good performance for their away fans.
But as we well know, having a big traveling bunch of away fans doesn't all necessarily mean that you're going to win either. So I think, you know, if we've got potentially 25,000 Malaguistas backing them as well in the stadium, then that's going to be a hell of an atmosphere, isn't it, Luke?
Yeah, it definitely is. And like Chris said, we need the fans, we need the team to be there. Interestingly enough, just before we came on air, I saw again our friend David Picon. He actually stated that it's now gone up to 1,500 Recre tickets available.
Yeah, because they got 1,250, and if they needed more, Malaga could give another potential 1,000, I guess.
Yeah, so even just today, as the day's gone on, it started at, I think it was 750, then went to 1,000, and so on and so on. So these are, the fans are going to be coming, and there is no reason why they won't be expecting their team to come away with some points.
No, we'll come on to those later with the form that those guys are in. Earlier today, we saw a statement released by, was it Frente Bocoron, basically denouncing Jose Maria Munoz as the club administrator and as a president. Luke, you sent this across to us in the WhatsApp groups, and we did a rough translation of it. Can you give us a bit of outline of what they're actually saying, or what they're saying about Jose Maria Munoz?
I think from what I'm gathering, it's an overall frustration of how the club's been run for quite a while, obviously. It's something that's been going on for a while. And reading into the statements, it looks like the volcano is ready to erupt. It seems like the fans have had enough. With maybe Chris might know a bit more. Jose Maria Munoz, does he disrespect the fans in any way or something? It got very much that kind of feel from the statement.
This has gone on for the whole season already. Don't want to talk too much about it. But it involves people who are not welcome anymore at the stadium while they didn't go through, how do you call it? Didn't go through court for the riots outside the stadium in the last season's end of the season, where not much happened basically. But people are not allowed back in. They're having sanctions, and that's one of the reasons. And the bad managing of the club, him him getting in with sports vision or sports decisions, which they say he shouldn't. A good president or a good leader of a club shouldn't mingle in with like sport-related things. And there I totally agree.
Yeah, well, this is the confusing part, because obviously he's been appointed as a administrator by the courts to run not just Malaga Club de Football, but various other Altani businesses related to the football club. And that, like you say, he's supposed to keep the businesses just ticking over. He's not supposed to get involved in sporting decisions and things like that. So why is he? Do you feel like he's maybe overextending his reach? He's getting involved in things that he shouldn't be, and he should be able to just sit in the background and let Kike Perez and Laurent Juarez just do their thing, shouldn't he?
I think he doesn't know, because I think he stepped back, made a big step back already with the coming of Kike Perez. He just never run a football club. He doesn't know anything of football. He's more a Unicaja fan. That's something he really is. But what does he know of football? So when you have a sports director called Manolo Gaspar, who tells you it's not his fault and that, well, he's doing a good job, and that's a strange situation why they are in a situation. You believe him, right?
I think what I saw from a couple of translations was he overall came in and steadied the ship for Malaga, but it is the sporting side what has really annoyed a lot of people. I also saw something which I'm not too big on it, but they were taking a lot of stick for going over to Ceuta in a helicopter. Very much like we were saying.
Well, I think that, I think because those things is a part where we know he earns a very big salary each month. Yeah. That's one thing we know. But I don't want to get in a discussion about the helicopter, because it could be that he went in a helicopter there, but we don't know who paid for the helicopter, because he went with his family.
But why did he go?
Not an issue.
Do you know
and that's a debate I don't want to go into, because I don't know who paid for the helicopter. Maybe he paid it himself with his own money, because he wanted the day out with his family. I don't know.
We don't know. Yeah, because for me, if you're not a football fan and you're just here to keep the business running, you wouldn't really have an interest in it necessarily. No. You've just got to make sure the books are balanced and everything's looking rosy on that side, and then you just go back home. So,
I mean, but I'm going to say, if it's paid, what I don't know, with club money, I think it's a bad decision. I think he shouldn't go with the helicopter from club's money to Ceuta, where if you can buy a boat in the financial situation we're in. Because people got sacked over summer. So, but then we don't know who paid for the helicopter, do we? Yeah, I mean, last season or the season before, head press director Ana Vera was. There was a picture Radio Marca Malaga shared it of her at Ibiza when Malaga played in Ibiza, drinking a mojito at the beach during the day, and a lot of critics came from it. But then you have to remember that being as in the press office, for example, of Malaga Club de Football, is a job that never ends. You know what I mean? Your phone is going the whole day. It's Monday till Sunday, and then Monday back to work again, because press never stops at a football club. So,
no, absolutely.
If they went out on a Saturday morning when Malaga plays at 6 o'clock at the evening, and you're going to drink with an employee together a mojito, why is that a problem?
No,
those are things I find. I find those things difficult to judge on, because I can imagine when you're like head press or press director and you're in Ibiza at 12 o'clock in the afternoon waiting for the time to pass by to start your work again.
Well, by the by, it sounds like we will have to just watch this situation with keen eyes just to see what does happen, whether protests develop from it, whether it's just a statement or whether there's a statement with actions. But I'm sure we'll find out.
It's just a statement, but it's a statement over something that has been going on for the last year already. So don't expect crazy things, or they just said what they thought, what they are thinking for the whole season already. They never made a secret of it.
No, absolutely. And some last bit of news as well is that the City Council is wanting to create a fan park before games. rather than the usual La Roca celebrations. So fan parks are being something that they are popping up all over Spain at the minute, really, aren't they? There was one at Granada for the Malaga fans, Chris, wasn't there? Ahead of that game. You see a lot more of them popping up around like Barcelona and Real Madrid and places like that. So is a fan park a good idea, Luke, or do you prefer to keep the authenticity of what we have right now?
Yeah, the authenticity. I mean, a fan park seems very American sporty to me. I don't know, a bit too staged. But from what I read, the issue is it's come from complaints to the council. I'm guessing a few people in the local area, probably Seville fans. I don't know. But I mean, we've all experienced La Roca. It's an amazing thing. And to cage that in a fan park, it's not for me. It's got to be natural.
And here's the thing. They talked about drug use. They talked about incidents. They talked about the place being a mess. They talk about other things. I don't know. If you went to La Roca, it's just Malaguistas.
It's just fun.
It is fun. There's no incidents have taken place there. They say it's 10, 12 hours before the match. Well, if you are there 12 hours before the match, you will see no one. It's at the max, it's 3-4 hours.
You wouldn't see the game if you were there 10 hours before.
I can understand those 3-4 hours at some point are a bit madness. At some point. But that's half an hour. Half an hour, an hour. Every 2 weeks.
You'll find at Madrid, for example, 10 hours before the 12 o'clock kickoff might be Matt Hampson.
I'm going to be honest. I think there are more important problems than La Roca in Malaga. And I also think because there was rubbish, people were throwing their rubbish on the floor. Fondo Sur did an amazing job with putting, how do you call them? Not bins, but like the thing is the sacks.
Bags, just bags.
Yeah, bags, like bin bags. They were putting bin bags and they were asking people to throw their rubbish in a bin, and it was done. So I don't know.
I suppose the rubbish thing is maybe the main thing. I mean, Nick, you've probably been to Blackpool's been to many playoff finals. I don't know if you've been up to Wembley or anything when the fans congregate on the streets. It's beer.
The problem is they never win them, Luke.
The most successful
he's going to have you now.
In the UK, I have in England. I have six wins out of 7. I think it is.
Oh, that's pretty insane.
Yes, so we're not too bad.
The wrong guy to pick on there, I think.
But yeah, I agree with you entirely, Luke. I can see why they want to do it. I can see why they want to keep it contained, because it's not just all the noise and disruption. Some of it could be to do with, being able to control what happens outside the stadium a little bit more, because obviously there's thousands of people congregating on what is a small part of the city as well. So maybe it's just an idea they're working with. Maybe it's something that will happen, but people just won't go to it. Given the option, it might be more family friendly. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. Something that we're not interested in talking about is Malaga's most recent result, which was away in Melilla. So let's go through this. Let's just pull the Band-Aid and just go off with it. We'll call it that after the break. So it was another trip to a different Spanish enclave this weekend, not too far after the game against Ceuta. There must be something about crossing the Mediterranean Sea that Malaga just don't get along with, because this was possibly one of the most dire games I've watched Malaga play, especially in that second half. To start with, we kind of knew what we were up against because we saw the images on the screen in front of us. The state of Melilla's pitch, like you say, I've seen more grass on Blackpool Beach. Let's put it that way. It was appalling, wasn't it, Luke?
Yeah, I think somebody said on the live streams, how bad was Intercity's pitch to be deemed unplayable when this farm field is playable? Like you've just said, there were a hell of a lot more sand on this pitch. Shocking and in truth, but it was the same for both teams. It did spoil the game, but yeah, it shouldn't be played on this kind of pitch.
It did. We even had Ruby on the live stream who, we didn't see a couple of things, and even she was noticing, saying, why is there a lot of holes in the pitch?
Where is Ruby, by the way, Nick? I thought Ruby were coming on live tonight.
She's all nicely tucked up nicely. So no interruptions tonight on that front. But yeah, I think I made the comment that there was more holes on this pitch than there was on a golf course. Chris, it was appalling, wasn't it?
It was a poor pitch, but I think if you're playing in third tier, that is what you get and what you should get. I mean, I don't see the big problem because Melilla is still Melilla, Malaga is still Malaga. Malaga should have beaten Melilla, and we're now trying to find excuses for.
I don't think anyone will say that the excuse is how bad the pitch was.
No, but
noticing that is a very bad pitch, and I know you say that. Oh, this is third division. We should expect it. Yes and no. They're still a professional football club.
No, they're not.
Well, they are.
According to the Football Content Awards, they are a professional football club, but they're not.
We're on about this now, are we?
Yeah. But I'm just. It's not a professional football club, and that's the difference. And maybe to you guys, it is a professional football club. But for Spain, it isn't. It doesn't matter what we think. It matters what the Spanish football competition say.
The fact of the matter is that all the players from Melilla, and I looked into this, they are full-time professionals. Not very good ones, but it still means that if you are a full-time football club, you should be looking after your facilities a lot better than that. Don't get me wrong, it was a very
But you have to keep in mind a few things, because I think there's more to professional football than only playing your players full time.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot to water the grass, is what I'm trying to say, Chris. Do you know what I mean?
But there are a few problems. Water is a problem in Spain, and it's turning to be a big problem. Money is a problem because it's not all it's not just putting water onto your pitch. Not everything is solved with water, according as the Bible says. But also to the kind of grass you have. If you have the money to have your grass updated or maintained well, I think there's a lot more to come with grass. And especially in countries like Spain, which is more difficult to have proper grass.
Well, we never knew that you were A, such a grass expert, and B, such a Melilla apologist.
No, but you have to like Melilla. How much money does Melilla earn?
Everyone's got the same issues. They'll probably get paid more than enough to get a sprinkler out on.
I don't agree, because Dutch Eredivisie clubs can even maintain a grass pitch, and it's way easier to have a grass pitch in Holland than in Spain, and they have this artificial grass because they can't afford a proper grass pitch.
I think an important thing to take from this, guys, is also in Sergio Pellicer's press conference, he did say the pitch is no excuse.
So it's not. That's it. It's not. It's by the football. The football's a football. The pitch wasn't. It is just still a very shit football pitch.
Terrible.
There are football pitches in Blackpool which put that to shame, and they are park pitches, and that don't get tended to. And that. So it's by the by. It's obviously, like you say, Chris. It's what to expect from this level. You are going to find teams which are like that. Like you said, I would hate to think what Intercities look like. But there are clubs which are smaller than Melilla that have better pitches than that in the league.
Yeah. Then maybe, I don't know, maybe Melilla gets less water, or it lanes rest in Melilla. We don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But Ceuta are in the
I
same
think
position. They're also
the thing is, I don't believe Melilla wants to have this pitch either.
No, they probably don't. But like Ceuta have the same issues that Melilla has. But their pitch was fine. Their pitch wasn't digging up. Their pitch was resplendent, if anything, in comparison. So, I don't.
But at the end of the day, Melilla also have to play football on it. So I think it's no excuse, and it's a horrible pitch, but it's what I imagine when you play in this league.
No, absolutely. Well, on to the start 11. So the thoughts for this game. So it was Monte back in alongside Juande. We saw Dione drop into the bench after his performance against Atletico Baleares, which I thought was quite harsh. And then, quite weirdly, Dani Sanchez starting as a left midfielder for this game, with Victor Garcia playing as left back. So, Luke, what did you think about this starting 11? Did it seem quite optimistic? You sounded quite excited on the live stream.
Yeah, I didn't mind it, to be honest. Just agreeing with you, Nick. The one that shocked me was Dione dropping to the bench. His performance of late has been much better. And to drop a striker when you're playing against second bottom in Primera, I don't know. I think that's a bit too negative for me. Dani Sanchez at left midfield, I didn't mind that. Did it work? No, not for me. I don't really think. I don't know. Originally, I was okay with the performance, with the starting 11, but it didn't really work, did it?
No, Chris, you made a point at the end of the live stream about Pellicer sort of having success with the 3-5-2, but now he's come back away from it again. Is he trying to fit in square pegs into round holes a little bit? Is he tinkering too much? What do you think the problem is with the starting 11 at the minute?
I think the problem is Pellicer, and every club, you have to have in top football, you have your starting 11. That's your best 11. And those starting 11 are the players who play out through the whole season in a system, in a formation, with the same tactics. And we just change everything every week.
Yeah,
then we play 2 weeks this system. Then we're going back to, I don't know, I have to say something, 4-3-2-1. Then we play this system. Then we go back to a 4-3-3 or 4-4-2. It changes every week.
It felt like, especially considering that we played so well against Atletico Baleares, that we'd sort of found something that worked, especially with David Fierro playing the way he plays. Dione really closed the gap to Roberto. And again, that's something that I really noticed in this game, that Roberto was so isolated once again that probably because Lorenzo was dropping in quite deep to pick up the ball. It is that kind of thought process where you think, well, if you found a formula that works where you come away with a 3-0 win, why wouldn't you just rinse, repeat, copy, paste, do it again against a team which was in a worse position than the team we played last weekend? So
because we are afraid. We are afraid of everyone we play against. Other teams should adapt to our style of play. We should dominate a match. We are Malaga Club de Football. But instead, we are adapting our style of play not to lose in the hopes we score a goal, changing it to a formation to adapt to the other team which we're playing against. And I just, for me, it doesn't work, and it never worked. There's no, you can't, you know from a few players that they are key players that they are going to play every week. That's Roberto, Joaquin, Einar, Genaro, Manu Molina now, maybe.
Yeah,
the thing we could all see against Baleares the freedom what Ferrero and Manu got, and we had great success with that. So, like you say, why can't we go at teams and why change it? Ferrero, yeah, he played decent again, but he didn't seem to get that freedom he had against Baleares. He was basically chucked out wide. Do you think?
I think that's how he works with play. So it was a very slow first half for both sides. Dare I say, Malaga probably shaded it a little bit because, we really restricted them to very little chances. There was some nice football at times, but it didn't get anywhere. It was nice sideways football, which is always an issue for us. We had that Juan Day chance where he appeared at the front post and forced a good save out of the goalkeeper. So, Luke, really for that first half, we weren't watching anything too exciting, were we? It wasn't really enthralling. What do you think was missing from it?
We lacked urgency, we lacked creativity. I hope and I believe the players are professional enough not to think like this, but it really felt like they didn't really give a toss. It was just a matter of let's get this 90 minutes done and let's get back home. I don't know. It's just, how many first half performances have we seen from Malaga this season, which has really got us off our feet? It's like they struggle to, I don't know, they struggle to come out of the blocks.
I think it's the not having structure or how do you call it, tactics to fall back on.
Yeah.
Because we changed it so much that also the team. I mean, football is about the start of the season. You have pre-season. That's where you get to know each other. That's where you touch balls with each other. That sounded very.
Yeah, that was a bit different.
That's where you get ball feeling with each other, right? No, but that's where you get ball feeling with each other, like how to play with each other. That's you get used to each other, and then in the first month and a half, you slowly get into the rhythm with normalities.
Yeah, it's about
like a formation, and you grow in that formation, and you get used to several things because you know that after a month, I know where Nick Bell is, and I know what they expect from me. I know what my job is because I'm at that position, and I will be on that position the rest of the season. And if I'm not there, my substitute is on that position, and he will do the same thing throughout the whole season, and you slightly get better in it.
Tactics are supposed to evolve as you go through, and especially if you find something that works, that's when you've got to work on it time and time again. You can't look at something like Ferrero and Dione's interplay, along with Manu Melilla as well, in the Atletico Baleares game and say, we're not going to do that again next week. I'm going to take an element of that away. I'm going to drop Dione to the bench and put somebody else in there like Danny Lorenzo and expect the same result. You need to work on that and say, well, that's something that was actually really strong for us, so let's grow it. Even when we brought substitutes on at half time, it wasn't the ones that I think we needed. Do you know what I mean? Like we were screaming out for, like you say, Luke, a second striker to really take the game to them. We were saying at half time, let's bring Dione on. But who do we bring on? Let's call a spade a spade. We dropped Danny Sanchez, who didn't do much wrong in that first half. He didn't do much right, but didn't do much wrong. Put him back at left back, take Victor Garcia off and put Kevin on.
It's a like sub, a very simple sub. Again, maybe thinking the fans like Kevin. I need to get Kevin on. This is the answer. There's nothing against Kevin. But one, I would have left Victor on over Danny Sanchez because if anything, Victor were a little bit more attacking. He created the Juan Day chance. I can't remember Danny Sanchez doing anything. Also in the first half, I mean, I've got written down here, could they have had a man sent off? Bad tackle on Roberto?
Well, they could have. Had
that penalty, do you think?
Yeah, they could have.
And that's the thing. You know what they say in the army? It takes 100 times to learn something. It takes 1,000 times to master it. So if you do things all the same, will do something 1,000 times, you master it. You know how to do it. If you normally drink coffee with your right hand and start doing it with your left hand, after 1,000 times, it's normal. You don't have to think about it. But we change everything every week. Everything is being changed. Other formation, other tactics, other players, other.
Yeah. I think we
have to adapt. We have to learn. Start learning again every week.
I think we said on the lives, Nick. Even Kevin's super fan Matt Harrison said Kevin wasn't really the player to be bringing on at that point.
And we didn't see him. We didn't see him, not to jump too far ahead, but we didn't see him for 25 minutes until he got licked. That was the first time we saw him, and he got booked because he got licked by somebody else. So Malaga had a really poor start to his second half, and that substitution, in my opinion, really didn't help. The Melilla goal, I felt it was coming. You start to feel that anxiety about that you get with Malaga sometimes when they're under the cosh. Long crosses, deep balls in the back. There was a moment where I think it was Siddiqui as well who got in behind, and if he had a bit more football nous about him, he would have squared it for his strike partner, but he didn't. He chipped into Herrera's chest. And then the goal that eventually came was just a big, deep, swinging free kick into the box, completely unmarked to the back post. We can argue all day long whether it was offside or onside. There's no VAR in this league. But there he was with the freedom of Melilla just to tuck it in at the back post. Chris, it's schoolboy errors, isn't it? Again, defensively.
Yes, but then, I don't know. Maybe you can blame someone for it, but if I was on the pitch, probably the same thing would happen because you're going to lose faith, aren't you? When you win so easily last week and now things don't happen or things don't work.
Yeah, but
that's no excuse for a defender to be shutting off. Every player on that pitch has got a job to do week in, week out, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he had the freedom
to have that kind of space at the back post. It is like, say, rookie football. It is something that should happen.
One thing we're not forgetting is the chance 10 minutes before that ball came across 5 yards out, super bobble.
But the thing is,
that
and I've said this before on the podcast, if a defender makes a mistake, it has huge consequences. If Dione makes a mistake, or Kevin, or, we didn't see Kevin for 25 minutes, but that defender's mistake was huge.
Yeah, I agree. Football can be a tough sport. We all know that, don't we?
But if a defender makes a mistake, I think everybody's to blame for that goal, the whole squad.
Oh, no, yeah, and don't get me wrong, everybody is. Everybody's back there and doing the job they need to do. You bring enough players back to mark the amount of players that are attacking you in the box, and the fact that he managed to have, if it was a climbing header at the back post and he jumped onto somebody's shoulders, I'd kind of be like, it's football. To have that much space, to have the freedom to be able to do that, to then slot it in at the back post without any challenge and no one within possibly about 3 or 4 foot of him is criminal. And it doesn't matter if it's the defender that was supposed to be marking him, a midfielder, it is unforgivable in my opinion. And then we just never managed to get back into the game for this on me. Pellicer rang the changes. He then again did the same thing that he's done previously, shits himself and goes, right, now I need to get Dione on now, or I need to bring that person on, or let's chuck on things. And then again, some of it was taken off players which actually probably shouldn't come off. Ferrero came off very early. Yes, I get his fitness probably isn't there, but he was doing more than anybody else on the pitch at that time. Yet then he's pulled off in favour of Dione to play him out on the right again. So I suppose
something that doesn't work, because that's also a thing. It doesn't work, and I'm not a big fan of Pellicer throughout the season.
No, well, we put it out there before, to ourselves. We put it out on our socials to sort of get some thoughts and processes back on this. What does need to change? Is it the manager that needs to change? Is it the way of playing? Do we need somebody to come in and influence it differently? Can we get a free transfer in to come and shake up the striking department? What do Malaga need right now? Because at the minute, they are in danger. If results go away there this weekend, it's going to take something for Intercity, Antequera, etc. to catch up. But the momentum, 1 win in 5, by the way, states to me that Malaga are more in danger of dropping out of these playoff positions than they are of staying in them. So what needs to change?
Massively. I mean, Malaga's taken 7 points out of a possible 21 since the start of the new year.
But I've said this was going to come, and that's the funny thing throughout the season. We only lost 2 games.
So we know,
if you've been looking throughout the season, it was clear that we weren't going to be able to maintain all those wins and all those, because football was horrible. we got away very lucky a few times.
So we know that you're very much Pellicer out at the minute, Chris. Is that
No,
what
I'm
you're
not. I because I also think in February kicking the manager out. I just don't think Pellicer is the right man.
No. Luke, we had some questions come in on social media for us. I don't know if you've got them to hand that we can put, but what are the other fans thinking at the minute, or what would they like to know on this? Because I think we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. It is, we could kick the manager out and get somebody new in, but would things necessarily improve? I don't know if they would.
See, I'm the same with Chris in terms of sacking a manager in February. What kind of impact is it going to have? I'm 50-50 on the Pellicer situation now, and that I was 80% Pellicer, 75%, etc. It is dropping massively. Malaga's struggled with stability for a long time now, having 3-4 managers a season, etc. So sacking maybe isn't the right thing. What I really struggle with in terms of the way that we do is why have we not got a plan B? If we start the game as a formation, we will probably end the game with that formation.
But we don't even have a plan A.
Yeah,
no, well,
I would agree with that. It doesn't feel like we've got a plan A at the moment.
No.
The one thing I might say about that is obviously Deportivo La Coruña's position was a lot more urgent than ours earlier on when they decided to replace their manager. I think they were something like 14th, 13th in the league at the time. They've changed their manager early on. They've brought somebody in, and they are now, I believe, the most informed team at this level. Above Castellón and Ibiza, and they are storming their way through. And I mean, so much so that I think we said on the live stream that we don't actually want them to make the playoffs. We'd be quite happy for them to go up automatically, so there is a possibility that we avoid them. So I can see the benefit of that. That's the difference, isn't it? I can see the appeal to that maybe if we can find someone like Deportivo was found.
Yeah.
I don't think in February, with only how many months left? 4 or 5?
To the end of May.
To the end of May.
March, April, May, 3 months.
3 months.
You could do a lot in 3 months.
I don't think it will change anything to replace your manager. I guess. I'm just saying, Pellicer is not the right man to bring Malaga back to Segunda, because that's not the type of manager he is. He's not a manager. He's a manager who can keep you into Primera RFF, so you can make sure you can't relegate. But he's not somebody who's going to offer you real attacking football to get promoted.
Yeah. So just going back to what you said, Nick, we've obviously put the question out. We've had a few replies. We've got Kevin Quirk. He says, why do we insist on trying not to get beat rather than attacking from the start and being on the front foot? We have attacking players being made to be defensive first rather than attacking, which I think we all agree with that. We've got Kevin Quinn as well. We're spoilt at home. Great pitch, crowd. When we go away, we seem to struggle to adapt to everything. All these things.
We also struggle at home, so
we do. Yeah, we do. We've also,
I think we struggled everywhere.
A bit of a positive for Pellicer. We've got Steve Jackson. He's definitely safe. 10 less points at this stage in the season. Probably a different story. I'm not saying we're guaranteed playoffs, but like Steve says, we're very much. It's going to take a disaster. We are leading towards that disaster.
Yeah, we're in disaster territory.
You'd like to think that we might be okay-ish, or we've got a bit of something about us. Finally, we've got Carl. He said, for me, it's the first time I've questioned Pellicer. The lineup was baffling. Einar has been decent recently. Jumps out for Juande. Why not play Dione? I think Frere has been much better for one exception. Seems a bit like square pegs in round holes, but we keep on going. So
how strong? I mean, I have a question. How strong is Renato, who is attackingly not very strong? Can we say that in the building up towards something? Not the best player, great header, so he will give you goals. But how strong is your defense slash midfield with Genaro and Musa taking the role, coming up, and Genaro taking over for Musa, and Musa coming up with his nice dribble. I think that's a very strong, decent defense, solid defense, together with Einar.
I think the Musa situation is a very strange one regarding Pellicer, because we've all picked up that he's a very good player, an adaptable player, but he just doesn't seem to, I don't know, does he seem to fancy him? He's not getting the minutes what we all believe he should do.
I think Musa operates outside of what Pellicer likes to do. And I think that makes him nervous of him. Like I say, he knows what he gets from Juan de, Einar, Nelson Monte. He has solid defenders. But again, I agree with Chris on this one. Why the chopping changing? Why would you have a centre-back pair in the week before, which worked perfectly fine, and then change it? You have to have a reason to change it. And I very much agree with what Carl said. This is the first time that I'm doubting it a bit. 2 weeks ago, I was very much, no, we need to back him. We need to carry on doing the same thing here. After that, and again, this panic that he has, it's childish. Yeah. It's the same thing that kids would do at school. That's what's caused this disaster, in my opinion.
How I see it, the way we play is trying to keep the null, and then, if possible, scoring a goal.
Yeah.
Focusing on not getting a goal against us, in the hope we score and take away the 3 points.
And that focus, that mindset, when you're thinking, if I can score one and not concede, is so parallel to what Castellón and Ibiza are doing.
Yeah,
they would rather go. I tell you what, even if we concede 2, as long as we're scoring 3, that doesn't matter, and that's why they turn teams over as much as we do. We've done it twice this season, where we've had a goal line which is maybe 3+.
Because it's very normal to get a goal against you. It's not a problem in football. It happens all the time.
Yeah. And if you embrace that, and if you look at it, and when the goal does go in, you're very much tipped on something there. When the heads went down after that goal went in, it's hard to come back from that, because you know it goes against the grain of what the manager wants. Where if you had a manager, and I'll revert this back to Ian Holloway when he was in charge of Blackpool, again, he had that philosophy. Don't matter if we concede 2, as long as we score 3 or 4.
Exactly.
We can score as many as we want to. So again, switching that around is something I'd certainly recommend him to do, or maybe someone else. But maybe
I also think that strategy in the playoffs is where we will lose.
Yeah, I've recently been very much turning in that way. Like you pointed out earlier, Chris, about the Recre fans are coming in numbers, and can Malaga stand up to that? They should do, because it's probably a 95% Malaguista arena. But are these players big enough to stand up against something like that? A pressure moment, i.e. the playoffs?
No.
It doesn't seem it is.
We can't handle pressure.
Ready for a playoff, etc.
We can't handle pressure. Why? Because every time we lose, Pellicer says in the press conference, we did our best. We lost, but the most important thing is the boys did their best.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, you say that, Chris. Just finally, a couple of notes from Sergio's press conference, translated obviously, is that he apologised to the fans, tried to keep them on side, and he takes responsibility. Do you think that's a bit weak, maybe, Nick, and a bit the pressure maybe getting to him? Do you want a bit more from your manager rather than apologies every week?
Absolutely. I think he needs to put rockets or arses to get where he wants to go. You can see he's got his boys, and it goes against the grain of what his players are saying. Roberto's come out and said as much as going to say, we need to be doing this, we need to be trying that, we need to be doing this. The moment you allow your players to start managing is where things are going wrong. I'd like to see more from Pellicer. He's created a great culture. He's created a great team spirit in the dressing room, but he also needs to let them know that I'm not your mate, I'm your boss, and you need to do what I'm saying. And that's when things start to unravel. So
I see Kevin now for the last few weeks.
Yeah, well,
Kevin playing rubbish, and then what do you bring on the pitch for the last 25 minutes? You give us Kevin. I didn't see Kevin again.
No, we didn't. Like you say, he came on at half time and did absolutely nothing for us when it should have been a chance for him to change things that way. But I don't know about you boys.
This Sunday, La Rosaleda, Kevin in the starting 11.
Well, we'll shall talk about that in a second. This game was so bad, I don't know if I even want to do a Chumbo or Biznaga. That's the way I'm feeling right now. How do you guys feel about that?
We always done them every week.
Yeah.
I think it's a protest to say, because for one, I couldn't pick out a clear Chumbo, and I certainly couldn't pick out a clear Biznaga. It's a very woolly Biznaga. So, but we can proceed if you'd like to. If you've got yours written down, you can tell me who yours are. If you want to start with Chumbo's first.
I've dug deep. Firstly, the fans' Biznaga of the match. So the choices was Ferrero's black boots, Kevin's knockout, Ross from Friends, and the bobble in the box. So that shows how bad this game was, because normally we take that quite seriously.
I forgot about Ross.
To be fair, it was a draw. Ross from Friends and the bobble in the box, which is a joke, but so was Malaga. However, my Chumbo, it is getting too common now, but this could have been anybody. But I'm going with Dani Sanchez. Unfortunately, I don't think it really worked on the left wing. Didn't really have an impact. But again, it could have been anybody.
No, Chris, did you have somebody in mind?
Dani Sanchez as well, but also a non-memorable mention to Kevin.
Yeah, I think really bring too much, did he?
I think you can do a bit more in 25 minutes.
Yeah, I felt sorry for Dani Sanchez, and he is going to get my Chumbo as well, just because he was anonymous for that. But I think, again, he's being asked to do a job that he's not designed to do. He's a left back. Why are we experimenting when we've got wingers on the pitch? Let him do his job, because he's been excellent at that job in the last couple of weeks as well. So why change things?
We signed Aviles. We signed Aviles for no reason, probably. To play.
We had 4 wingers on the bench.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And again, it shows the thought processes. But anyway, you'll have to really dig deep for this one. Luke, who was your Biznaga?
Yeah, again, so I've got written down potentially the hardest Biznaga of the season. I am going with Danny Lorenzo. He looked sharp in tiny stages in the first half, forward thinking. But again, like I mentioned before, it vanishes in and out of the game way too quickly.
My one was Manu Melilla, and just purely because I'm his biggest fan. But again, I don't think he did too much wrong. He basically ticked over and did what he needed to do, but it wasn't inspirational. It's a very, very flimsy Biznaga. And Chris, what about you?
I went with Ferreiro.
Yeah, I think
gave us glimpse.
Just that when he puts his foot on a ball, again, I think his decision making is 10 times better than what we've had already this season. So yeah, absolutely. Chris is showing us something here.
Mansfield are beating Harrogate 9-2.
Ah, right. I see. I was wondering what that was. Well, anyway, hopefully 9-2 isn't a scoreline we see this weekend at La Rosaleda, or hopefully it is, but depending to which team would be the question we'd have. So let's go and talk about that match against Recreativo Huelva this Sunday at La Rosaleda. So, as we mentioned before, potentially a mass of Recreativo Huelva fans joining us at La Rosaleda. Maybe upwards of 1,500 sitting in that little section just in the opposite end to V538. they are a side in a light touch of form, I'd say. They're not the most informed team in the league by a long stretch, but they've only lost twice since I think the end of November, I think it was. They got hammered 5-2 by Ibiza, but they've been picking up wins, picking up points. They've, like I say, getting some good draws in away, and they suddenly find themselves in playoff contention, sitting in 5th at the moment, a couple of points behind Malaga, just a couple more behind Cordoba as well. It's very much a different story from when we played them first time round, because where they were in the league when we played them, they were right down there, weren't they, if I remember rightly? Very much like 14th, 13th, if I remember.
Yeah, they had a very slow start. And like you've just said, Nick, they've lost 2 games since November. That's twice in 14 games, quite the opposite to our form. But the interesting thing is half of their points have came away from home. So they're not going to, granted, not every ground is like La Rosaleda, but they are not going to be coming here with fear, especially with 1,500 Recre fans behind them. No,
that's exactly it. And I think, you come against teams that have got the tails up sometimes, and it is a worry. We performed so well, the weekend before against Atletico Baleares. We performed so poorly in Melilla here. We really need to bounce back, don't we, Chris? And I suppose, do we need to really make La Rosaleda a fortress this season? I suppose it is to an extent. We've only lost at home the once, I believe, this season. So we need to really be putting teams like this to bed at home, don't we?
Yes, but I can't also say like the fortress defense are making every week in, week out, is really, the team isn't really showing to pick that up.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I think we play better away than at home. And a lot of draws, if I remember it correctly, at home.
Lots of draws at home, yeah. I think the most draws at home, if I remember rightly from what I've seen. So, considering that they've got 20,000 plus turning up every week, you'd think it'd be a real 12-man and to push teams over the line.
You guys think that the team can handle La Rosaleda and 25,000+ fans? Do you think they've got enough about them player by player?
Well, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to, because with respect to, they're not a stadium that will get on your back. No. for Malaga. You know what I mean? They'll constantly be supported and cheering and chanting in your favour. You know what I mean? They're not. You don't hear that groan that you might find sometimes, especially at English stadiums. So I don't see why they would fear it. But again, when you're coming up against teams like Recreativo Huelva, one of the oldest teams in Spain, a great history themselves, they want to be back within the La Liga setup themselves. This is a team that, if we have got intentions of getting promoted, we need to be beaten, don't we, Luke?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like you've just said yourself, Nick, these are a big team for this level. Granted, for me, we are a massive team at this level, but they need to show that. It's all right having a bit of history and etc., but they need to prove that on that pitch, because we are Primera. We need to keep telling ourselves this is where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, a familiar face that we'll come up against on Sunday, unless something major has happened in between now and then that I haven't seen. But Guy Quintana, Chris, a good friend of yours.
7 goals. Top scorer. Who would ever thought that, with 7 goals?
Do you think he's going to come back to haunt us again? He obviously scored against us in the reverse fixture.
Yeah, and let's not forget, we draw against them away, 1-1.
Celebrate or no celebrate in La Rosaleda?
Yeah, he will celebrate.
He's definitely celebrating.
I mean, how long did he play for Malaga? A season?
Maybe.
Yeah. But to be fair, like you say, he seems to have got his tail up a little bit. We're not going to pay him too much respect, because we've got a striker who scored 10 goals this season. So Roberto is certainly the one I would pick over Kai Quintana. But it just seems like proper. When people refer to things as Spursy, what would be the Malaga equivalent? Like maybe in Spanish, would it be Malagasi or something like that, where it's like just ironic that Kai Quintana will definitely come back and score a hat-trick or something stupid like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't score. I don't like him as a striker. I think he learned a trick in Poland, I believe, because in Malaga he really was really bad.
No, well, like I say, let's see if we can do that. How do we contain a player like Kai Quintana? You know, from being a goal-scoring threat. You are the manager now. Pellicer's been put in a cupboard. Luke, what would you do on Sunday? How would you set up for this game?
Personally, away from Kai Quintana, I want to see 2 strikers again. I really do. We've just said there, Roberto's got 10 goals this season. If he had a player up there with him playing, he could be 15, 20 maybe. Because the amount of work Roberto puts in during a game with so much little service, I think we're a much better team when we've got 2 up front. I do think he's going to revert back to the 3-5-2 this week. I'd like to see Musa. I would like to see Musa coming into that for sure.
There's zero Musa in there. Do you think he'll generally put him in there, or are you expecting a back 3 of like Einar, Monte, and Juande?
I don't believe in the slightest that he's going to use Musa. He should. Me personally, I think Chris and yourself maybe even agree. We know his safety option is Monte, Einar, and Juande.
Yeah.
But is that safe? Because I don't think Juande is really well.
No, well, this is a. I can't remember what I was talking to the other day, but I've always been a big Juande fan. However, now this season, I don't know if it's the injuries. He just doesn't look a confident player. He doesn't look to have a bit of class to him or anything. I thought Murillo looked better than
yeah, that was going to be my next question. What's happened to Murillo? Obviously, I know he had a bad couple of games at the start of this year, but he's really been, shepherd hooked off.
Yeah, he's been shit.
Centre right, hasn't he? Recently, we've not seen heads or tails of him.
He's been shit on, really. Murillo played when we were in form before Christmas.
What do you think?
He
about
just
that?
disappeared. He vanished.
Yeah.
I don't know. What happened to Maloney?
Well, we know what's happened to Alan Maloney. He's currently away with the Irish under-17, so he's not going to be back for this one. But yeah, it's it really is a mystery for Murillo, because you'd think that, especially after this game, that you maybe see him come back in. But do you think he's going to revert back to 3 centre backs, Chris, or do you think he's going to roll the dice again on this?
He will. I think he has a. I don't know how Recreativo Huelva play. I think we're going to be very defensively, because I think he's going to look at the table and say, 3 at the back? No, I'll play with 5 at the back. I think we're going more with a 5-3-2-1.
Well, that's still when I say a 3-5-2, it is the 5, isn't it? With the full back.
With your wing backs, isn't it?
Yeah,
to me, this is a game where, especially after Sunday, Sergio will be shitting himself of losing. To me, if you can play 3 centre halves, 2 full backs with what we're saying, Canado holding, it is a very defensive base with a counter.
That's where I think we give him too much respect for thinking like a tactician.
Well,
I don't think he does that. I think he'll go very much with 4 at the back still, and he'll persevere with either Einar, Juande, Monte, Einar. That'll be the one they go with. And that's on the count of that he wants to play Canaro in that midfield. But if you play 3 at the back and then play Canaro, you are sacrificing either a Melilla or a Dani Lorenzo or a Ferrero or a Dioni. So you can't have it all. So I think he'll stick with those 2, hoping that, well, at least I've got the cover of 3 with Ferrero in midfield. The one thing I do want to see do is bring Dioni back into that connection between Ferrero and Dioni in the game against Atletico Baleares. You've got to work on that. You've got to keep that going, in my opinion. And how close Dioni plays to Roberto.
Would you want to see that as a straight 4-4-2 then?
No. I think if it needs to be, I think Chris has mentioned it before, that sort of diamond. You have Dioni playing at the top of the diamond, Canaro at the bottom of it, and Melilla and Dani Lorenzo maybe, or Melilla and Ferrero, out the other side of it. There's no point in us trying to play.
I would play a 4-4-2 with Dioni on top, together with Roberto, and then Manu Molina under Dioni and Roberto, because he has the pass in him. Then try and play Ferreiro and I don't know, maybe Dani Lorenzo or La Rubia.
That's what worked for him. Like I
And
said, I don't understand why you wouldn't. It's so frustrating to win by 3-0, admittedly against poor opposition, but then completely change it. Work with what you've got a result with. So against Atletico Baleares, it was Dione just playing as a 10 just off Roberto. You had Ferrero on the right. I think it was Kevin who started out on the left, but he didn't really do too much, if I remember rightly, in that game. But even like you say, Chris, start Lorenzo out there or La Rubia or even Juan Hernandez potentially. You know, we've got the options to be able to do that and have that midfield of Melilla and Gennaro, and you should be fine. But I'm with you, like tactically wise thinking.
And then with Musa and Einar at the back, because Musa has that dribble to go forward, and Gennaro can take his defensive task over.
Yeah, and Gennaro and Melilla would love that as well. They were constantly looking for. Obviously, we were all there for the Baleares game. They were constantly looking to have a centre back higher up as an outlet. Against Melilla, both Juande and Nelson Monte were stood on the edge of their own 18-yard box for most of it. They weren't advancing too far forward, in my opinion. So,
and that's the thing with the 4-4-2, because that's very important, in my opinion, is that the whole defense goes up the pitch, like play very far up the pitch until the center of the pitch. I think your two backs have to be at the center of the pitch.
Yeah.
So basically, what we're calling for is the only back in the starting lineup. We need to have Musa in at centre back to go for it, and we need to have who else did we say? So that Melilla and Dione and Ferrero link up for this game, and we might win. Is that what we're saying?
A bit of consistency would be nice.
Yeah,
like Chris said earlier,
I don't think that's what we're going to get, because we haven't been playing or haven't been doing anything in the same formation, in the same. We don't have that consistency of things to fall back on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if it goes wrong, we still have our basis, and we don't have a basis because we change everything every week.
I guarantee if Sunday we stay with the three behind the Roberto, he's going to revert back to what used to work, whether performance worked or not. Dione pushed way out wide. Kevin automatically gets his ticket back into the team. You can see it already. It's his safety.
Yeah.
It's his safety
but it never worked, did it?
No,
not really.
One question to end on, because I want to keep it positive, but I think it's a struggle to be positive at the minute. Is this game a test for Pellicer and his future with Malaga? Do you think if they lose this game, do you think large parts of the fan base will start to turn against him properly? I think there's a lot of people getting splinters in their arse at the minute, sitting on the fence about it. Do you think this could be a test for him to see whether he could carry on?
Maybe that some fans will question him, but I also think that his position is not in question at the club.
Just with the fans. Yeah.
It will just be a part of the fans.
Yeah.
Do you think that, Luke? Do you think this is
I totally agree with Chris. I do think this is a game we need to win. This yes, we need the 3 points, obviously. But effectively, we're playing against a team in the top 5. Granted, it's in Grupo Dos. But we need to be beating the teams in these playoffs to prepare us for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yes,
but the thing at the other hand is, that you guys always say we need to get that form, but then we lose a match, we win a match, we lose a match, we draw a match.
I mean, this is the most
That's our
frustrating
season. That real form is never coming.
Yeah, this is the frustrating thing. I mean, if we listen back to the last 2 pods, we've been happy. We've been celebrating a good performance and wins. and then Malaga just drop us straight back down with maybe what, the worst performance of the season?
Yeah.
That's
To me, it was the worst performance.
There's no consistency.
No, but there's also no structure. There's no plan A. So
no, well, it sounds very much like more and more people are starting to really question how things are going on in this side, and it's very much of, instead of looking forward, thinking, is that gap between Malaga, Ibiza, and Castellón closable? I think that dream's now gone. It is now more looking over our shoulder, which is a very worrying prospect for.
But
Malaga.
I think if you're being honest, we could see that in October, November already.
We could.
I think we are we're trying to search too much. Well, I'm not, but you guys are trying too much to see the positive side instead of.
I think that comes after
in reality or something.
After 5-6 years of losing,
yes,
being shy. You've just got to enjoy the ride. I mean, look how down we are now.
Yeah,
look how down we are.
Look for the positives where I can, then that's just something that we will do. So, but we'll find out more on Sunday anyway. As like we said, Sunday dinner time. I don't think we're going to have a live stream this week, Luke, because there's only you who's available, I believe.
I looked into it, but I think it might be a bit.
Well, I'm taking myself up to a remote part of Scotland to be away from Malaga Club of Football for a weekend, so I'm going to enjoy the peace and quiet, and then check the score when I get home to see whether I should be happy or not. But Chris, you'll be there. Matt's going to be there. I think a few people are also heading over to it. So do enjoy the game. It sounds like it's going to be fantastic weather, a fantastic atmosphere, and hopefully Malaga can come away with a result to really bolster their playoff promotion hopes as well. So we'll round things up now. Thank you everyone for listening at home. You have been great once again. Thank you very much, Chris Marquez, for joining us.
You're welcome.
And
maybe I'll do a video next week, by the way. I'm not sure yet. Maybe.
I think you should. They've been very good to watch. So
I don't know.
You will do a video next week.
Insane.
It's be completely insane. And Luke Chambers, you have also been once again insane. Thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure as always, mate. It has been a bit down this week, so Nicky's very kindly going to do a wrap now for everybody.
No. I'm going to cut us off like I did at the end of the live stream as well. So
10-0 Malaga. 10-0 Malaga. Vamos. Enjoy your week, guys.
10-0 Malaga. Vamos. And thank you very much from me. I've been your host, Nick Bell. You've been listening to the Gearycast on Sports Direct Radio and as part of the Sports Social Podcast Network. Thank you very much for listening. Adios. Vamos, Malaga.